especially to us as Christian Americans or American Christians. First of all, I see a sense of Lincoln referring to the Christian heritage upon which our nation was built. I want you to notice that very first paragraph, the one that I accidentally goofed on. Dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Doesn't that remind you of the Declaration of Independence? Doesn't that remind you upon the very idea, the reason the Pilgrims came to the United States in the very first place? Then we see down towards the end of the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln makes the statement that our nation under God. Under God. I don't know. I'm not a historian to the point that I can really depend on what I'm going to say right now, but I believe that this is the very first time in a speech of a president of the United States that the term under God was used. I'm not sure. And I don't know whether you know it or not, but Abraham Lincoln was baptized into the Church of Christ Christian Church. That is a fact. In fact, there was one other president that was a part of the Christian Church, Church of Christ, and that was Garfield. Two others were a part of it, but they would not do the things that I feel they should do. But I want you to think just for a moment of that Christian heritage. Down through the years, while we have had struggles with good and evil, the greatest influence in our nation until recently has been Christian influence. Can we honestly say that about our nation today? That the greatest influence in our nation today is based upon Christianity? I don't think we can. In fact, if President Obama, and I don't want to get involved with politics, but President Obama has ever said anything right, it was the idea that this is no longer a Christian nation. Now, I don't want to get involved with politics. I want to stay away from it as possible. Whether they're Republicans or Democrats or independents or whatever, I am not happy today with the things that are coming out of Washington, D.C. Are you? I'm not. And the thing that displeases me more than anything else is the fact that we're leaving the very basis of our heritage, which is Christianity. And I think it's time that we get back to our first love, which was Christ and Christianity. The second thing that I notice here, and it is very, very interesting. I want to have to be sure I get the right section of this. But the second thing is the idea that we as a nation need to really recognize the fact that there was a great sacrifice that many have made. The sacrifice of life. Now, I realize that there are a number of people here who served in the Army or Navy or the Armed Forces. Some of you may have even been put in harm's way. I never have, and I tried, but I could not do it, mainly because I was a ministerial student and they would not take me. But we need to realize the idea that there are many people that are suffering today from conflicts that they were in hundreds of years ago, but it might be emotionally. Not hundreds of years ago, but several years ago. They're suffering emotionally. And I firmly believe that as Christians, we need to be thankful to those who have sacrificed so much in serving our country in armed services. And by the way, I don't think there's a family in their existence today in the United States that has not been affected in some way. In some way. by the wars that we've been through. I think of a aunt of my mother's mother's sister, Aunt Emma, Uncle John. They had 2 boys. Both of them served in the services during the Second World War. Only one came back. So my life, and we were very close to that family, and my life has been affected by it. We need to give praise to those. But the thing that I think Abraham Lincoln said in his Gettysburg Address is found in this idea that the world will note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. Then he goes on and says, it is for us, the living. And I think these words are just as true today as they were when Abraham Lincoln gave it. It is for us, the living,